Is your Chihuahua microchipped? Are you thinking of getting your Chihuahua microchipped? Microchips are supposed to increase the chances of getting your Chihuahua back home safely to you should he or she ever get lost. But is that still the case? It may not be. This is some information that you and I and everyone who has a pet needs to know. So shall we get started? Let's do it. Hi everyone, I'm Linda. This is Cora. If you're new here, welcome. And if not, then welcome back. And thanks so much for watching. I am owner and editor of chichisandme.com and of this channel. I have over 25 years experience raising and training Chihuahuas. But besides that, I am so passionate about Chihuahuas that I have done years of research and study about the Chihuahua breed. And what I've learned, I want to share with you so you and your Chihuahua can live the best life ever together. If you love Chihuahuas, then you are in the right place, because here at this channel we talk about Chihuahuas, Chihuahua health, nutrition, training, behavior, anything you ever wanted to know about Chihuahuas, you'll find it right here. So if that's something that you're interested in, please consider subscribing. I upload a new video every Wednesday, but be sure and hit the bell so you'll be notified when each new video is uploaded. If you want to know more about me and what qualifies me to help you with your Chihuahua, I'll put a link in the description below all about me and how Chi-Chi's and me got started, and you can read that anytime. So let's get to it. What is a microchip and how exactly does it work? Basically, every microchip has a dedicated and unique number that is associated with the company that made that microchip. Every microchip is a tiny little tube about the size of a large grain of rice, and it is implanted in your Chihuahua in the back of the neck between the shoulder blades. Once that microchip has been implanted in your Chihuahua, or inserted into your Chihuahua, then you register with that company your Chihuahua and his or her information. So if your Chihuahua should get lost, then hopefully someone will find him or her. They will then take him or her to a shelter or a veterinary clinic or hospital. They then will scan your Chihuahua to see if they have a microchip. The first 3 numbers of the microchip identifies it with a certain or particular microchip company, the company that made that microchip. Just like an area code with your phone, that identifies what part of the country you live in. Then if the scan picks up a microchip, then they will call that company, the Humane Society or the vet clinic or hospital, wherever it was scanned, they will call that company and they will give them the number. The company then looks up that number, sees that it identifies or that it is associated with your Chihuahua, with your information that you had already given them, and then they will call you. The company will call you and tell you where you can go pick up your Chihuahua. That at least is how it is supposed to work. There are several microchip companies, and I'll list them at the end of this video. So tell me in the comments below, is your Chihuahua microchipped? If so, do you know what company that they are registered with? That is something that is very important to know, because not all microchip providers or microchip companies are the same. If you don't know, then ask your veterinarian or go to wherever he or she was microchipped and find out which company they use. Or if your Chihuahua, when you adopted them, already had been microchipped, they should have given you a microchip registration form to fill out and send to the company. That form should have the name of the company or the provider that microchip is associated with. But that is very important information to know. You know why? Because not all microchip companies are doing their job, and your Chihuahua just might be registered with one of those companies. Before I go on, I want you to know that all the links that I mentioned here in this video will be in the description below. And if you like this video so far, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I also here want to let you know that I am soon going to be uploading a video. It will be answers to viewers' questions. So if you have a question, then please let me know your question in the comments below. So now is your chance to get your question answered on one of my next videos. The reason it is so important that you know the prefix, the first 3 numbers of your Chihuahua's microchip and the company that it is associated with, the reason that is so important is because, sadly, just like everything else in our world today, someone has figured out how to scam people out of money. That includes veterinarians, veterinary clinics and hospitals, animal shelters, and pet parents. Oh, how I despise scammers. You want to know how much I despise them?
You're despicable.
So now there are microchip companies that are simply frauds. It seems that no matter what it is, anything new that comes along or anything that somebody is making money on, somebody else is going to come along and figure out a way to fraud and scam people with it. So as a result, the number of companies has grown tremendously and new ones are popping up every single day. So here's what to look for. Beware of companies that their microchip prefix is 900. The last time I checked, there were 6, and I'm sure there's more now. There were 6 companies that the prefix was 900, that is 900. These 900 companies seem to play by their own rules and they don't follow standard industry standards. So where this becomes a problem is in many ways, but one, if your Chihuahua is lost, someone finds your Chihuahua, takes them to a veterinary clinic or hospital or shelter to have them scanned. That veterinary hospital, shelter, veterinary clinic, they do not have time to sit on the phone and call 6 or probably now more companies to find out which one your Chihuahua is associated with. You don't want this to happen, and it's good to know beforehand before your Chihuahua may or may not get lost. According to Abby Smith, who is a director at Felines and Canines, which is a Chicago shelter, according to her, no one knows even who these companies are, and most are impossible to get in contact with. So these companies actually are reducing the chances of a pet being returned to their parent if they were lost. No one can even figure out how they operate. Megan, who is a Virginia Beach, Virginia animal control officer, what she says is these companies are in the business of selling chips, but not in the business of returning lost pets, which is, after all, the whole purpose. So how do they get away with it? Many veterinarian clinics, hospitals, and shelters are unaware of these companies. And so they're enticed, or their motivation is that these companies sell their microchips for cheaper, less money. And that in turn is good for their bottom line. To me, it's simply despicable to think that you've done the right thing, your Chihuahua is microchipped, and therefore you feel better knowing that if he or she should get lost, then the chances are greater that he or she will be returned to you. Most of these companies don't even keep a database of the information that you've sent to them. And you may never see your Chihuahua again, or your pet, your cat, whatever it is. Whatever pet you have microchipped, you may never see them again. Another thing that most people are not aware of is that there are 4 different kinds of microchips, and veterinary hospitals, clinics, and shelters do not have scanners that will read all 4. So what can you do? Well, number 1, talk to your veterinarian. Be sure that your Chihuahua's microchip is associated with a well-established company, and I will list those at the end of this video, so stay tuned. If your Chihuahua, of course, was adopted from a shelter or a rescue organization, he or she will already be microchipped. So it's important that you find out what company that microchip is associated with. It's important to know the first 3 numbers associated, the prefix of the unique number of that microchip. If you find that yours is a 900 number, it's likely that is not a well-established company, and you may have to have that microchip removed. But it's not as easy to remove it as it is to put it in, and it requires surgery in order to remove a microchip. So what's the takeaway here? Number 1, be very aware of the unique number of your Chihuahua's microchip and the company it is associated with. And to be clear, many well-established companies, the prefix begins with 900 something something. But I'm talking about those that begin with 900. And number 2, be aware that there are 4 different types of microchips, and not all scanners will read all 4 different types of microchips. So your veterinarian, the veterinary hospital or clinic or shelter where your Chihuahua is taken to be scanned should he or she get lost, that particular shelter or veterinary hospital or clinic may not be able to read, their scanner may not be able to read the microchip that you have in your Chihuahua, even though it is a legitimate company. But this is something you need to be mostly aware of if you travel a lot. If your Chihuahua was microchipped in your local area where you live and became lost in your local area where you live, the veterinary clinics and hospitals and shelters in your area most likely will have the scanner that will scan your microchip. But if you're traveling out of the country, or if you're just traveling around outside your state, then it may be that their scanner may not read the microchip that your Chihuahua has. It's just something that you need to be very aware of, especially if you travel a lot and take your Chihuahua with you. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you benefited from it and learned something, a thing or two maybe. If so, then please give it a thumbs up and even share it, because this is really important information that all pet parents really need to know. So share it with your friends, your neighbors, or whoever. Even if they don't have a Chihuahua, I'm sure they probably have a pet that might be microchipped, and it's something that they need to know too. So following is a list. I will scroll a list of the most established and well-known microchip companies. So until we meet again, or right back here on this channel, my 3 amigos and I wish you lots and lots of happy tail wags and sloppy Chihuahua kisses.